And we had to understand the concept of Poincare sphere in this lecture. Okay, so what do you mean by Poincare sphere? Before that, we will have to understand what is the concept of polarization. In the previous lecture, we have seen that polarization is nothing but the time varying behavior of electric field with respect to time factor. Depending on the time value, how does electric component changes in space of the electromagnetic wave can be considered as a polarization. Okay, in last lecture we also had given examples of polarization of light. In a very similar way, in case of electromagnetic wave, the time varying behavior of electric field component can be considered as a polarization. All of you people are knowing that in case of polarization, it can be further divided into three types. First type is linear polarization, in which electric components vibrate or time varying behavior can be observed to be linear. The second type was circular type of polarization, in which E1 and E2, that are the components of electric field, vary their amplitudes in such a way that their tip will be completing a circular shape. In a very similar manner, we had seen that elliptical type of polarization is a type of polarization in which electric field components, that is the resolved components, can be divided into two segments, that is nothing but E1 and E2, and the resultant will be forming elliptical structure instead of a circular structure, can be considered to be elliptical type of polarization. Now friends, we have to continue the same, and we have to reach to a new title or new note that we have to understand as per our syllabus is indicating. The similar type of concept can also be observed through internet material, YouTube, PDF, PPT. You can access a huge material, but before that or in parallel with that, here we have to understand that in case of polarization, we can divide the concept of polarization considering the electric terms as here, or considering the wave terms as shown here. So if suppose electrical terms are considered over here, we can observe that E1 and E2 are the components of electric field, and the ratio of E2 by E1, the ratio of E2 by E1 will be definitely a number. And also we are knowing that the delta is the angle made by the type of polarization. This also can be defined to be a tilt angle. Okay, in a very similar way, if suppose a wave is considered by observing the components of the axial values, we can define the axial ratio that can be denoted by AR, as well as we can define the tilt angle by tau. In a very similar manner, we are knowing the term gamma. I think now some of the students may get confused. Gamma, we are knowing that gamma is nothing but alpha plus beta, alpha plus j beta, where alpha is attenuation constant, beta is phase constant. In a very similar way, we are knowing this epsilon as a permittivity of the medium. So friends, we have to remember here that considering these variables, we are trying to understand a similar field concept with different intention. Here we have to understand that gamma is nothing but tan inverse of E2 by E1 only, and epsilon is nothing but cot inverse of the axial ratio. So what are these three parameters? Delta and gamma can be considered to be the parameters defining the elliptical structure. In a very similar way, the similar type of ellipse will be providing the components of tau, epsilon, as well as axial ratio in case of wave terms, and E2 by E1 in the electric terms. So the most important point that we have to note here is that the range of gamma can be considered to be 0 to pi. Gamma will not increase to a value which will be greater than pi or less than 0. Therefore, for restructuring any elliptical parameter terms, we can define the concept as shown here. The range of gamma will be only in the possibility of 0 to pi, which is similar to the value of tau, which is having the range 0 to pi. Now, why it is so, that we will observe within a moment. But along with that, here we have to consider other two parameters that are nothing but delta and epsilon. The range of delta will be lying from minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, and the range of epsilon, which is nothing but cot inverse of the axial ratio, its range will be minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4. Now, what is this delta that we have to observe, that we can show here, delta or tau? Here, if you will observe that the angle made by the ellipse with horizontal surface can be considered to be value tau. Okay. And in a very similar way, delta can be defined by the angle which is going to vary from 0 to pi. Okay, so what are these values? Considering these four values, or in a more precise way, what we can say is only two set of values, either gamma and delta or epsilon and tau. We can define a particular shape. Okay, a particular shape of the electrical component can be defined. For that purpose, here we have to understand the concept by observing a typical sphere that I have drawn by pen. I think the sphere is in front of you, and you are able to read the values present here. Okay, so if suppose we have to explain the polarization of electromagnetic wave, and we have to express the same efficiently with the help of a number and with the help of a angle. If that is the requirement of electromagnetic wave to be expressed, here we can draw a sphere in which, if suppose we are considering any general electromagnetic wave, for that electromagnetic wave, let us assume that here we are calculating the value of gamma, as well as we are calculating the value of delta. In a very similar way, we are knowing the value of epsilon and the value of tau. If we are knowing these values, what we can do? We can locate the point P on the sphere as shown here. The sphere is consisting of the point P. For example, here we can observe that point P is located in such a way that on this particular sphere, if horizontal line is drawn like this and vertical line is drawn similar to this, I think please wait for a moment. I will make the necessary changes so that you will be able to look it more clearly. Just a moment. I think instead of taking this diagram, was another diagram of more clarity can be considered here. which will be possible to be observed by you all more efficiently, so that the concept can be made clearer. Just wait a moment, so that we'll be able to make the necessary changes. Okay, right. Yes, I think this image will be somewhat clearer than the previous image, and it will be possible for you all to understand in a more effective way than that of the previous diagram. Okay, so here what we are assuming is we are considering a general electromagnetic wave which is having electric field which is defined by component E1 and another component E2. The angle of the electric component is described by delta. If we'll find the tan inverse of E2 by E1, the angle here is defined as gamma, which are the defining parameters of ellipse. And here we can see the range of gamma is ranging from 0 to pi, because for general ellipse that we can consider as a reference, half of the ellipse will be repeated after completion of half semi-cycle, and remaining portion will be similar. Therefore, here we can say that gamma will be ranging from 0 to pi only. For such type of considered electromagnetic wave, here let us consider that we are drawing a sphere, and that sphere is having one vertical plane. As here we can observe, this is the vertical plane in front of we all. In a very similar way, it is consisting of a horizontal plane or imaginary horizontal plane that is shown by the cursor here, and we have to consider that on this particular sphere we are locating the point P. If suppose we have to locate this point P at any specific location, what I will do, I will calculate the value of this tau, as well as I will calculate the value of epsilon. How I can calculate the value of tau and epsilon? Here, as the diagram is indicating, it is consisting of equation. Epsilon can be calculated with the value of cot inverse of plus or minus AR. Now, what is this AR? AR is nothing but the axial ratio. Okay, that is from any general electromagnetic wave, we are finding the value of epsilon as well as we are finding the value of tau. If we are knowing these two values, what I will do on this particular plane, considering the sphere part from the center, here I have drawn a red colored line, a dotted line is there, which is making an angle of 2 tau. Now what will be the range of this 2 tau? 2 tau will be having the range as shown here. We can see that range of tau will be starting from 0 to pi, and 2 tau will be consisting the whole 360-degree value of the sphere. That is, a particular electromagnetic wave is to be represented on the sphere. What I will do, I will have to calculate the value of this tau. This tau is to be considered with the multiplier of 2. The 2 tau will be the angle made by a particular plane as shown here by the red dotted line from the vertical line similar to x axis or x coordinate. This is the value of 2 tau that we can observe. And if suppose in a very similar way I am able to calculate the value of epsilon, which is ranging from minus pi by 4 to plus pi by 4, This angle can be considered to be 2 epsilon, and that value can be plotted here to locate the point P. In considering the very similar example of our coordinate system geometry, if suppose a point P is required to be located on x and y axis, what do we know? To locate the point P, we are considering the x coordinate, and then we are considering the y coordinate. In a very similar way, friends, we have to remember here that the horizontal uh, distance traveled by the point or the electromagnetic wave is denoted by 2 tau, and the inclined or the vertical distance can be denoted by 2 epsilon. That will be nothing but the cross section of a vertical dotted line and inclined position of point P considering the horizontal plane. Considering these two values, we can locate the point P as here. That's why we can say that a point P can be located here. Okay, this is the general consideration. It may happen that point P may be located here, wherever is the cursor now. The point P will be located here at the extreme end. The point P will be anywhere in this at this particular position. It may be at the top of sphere, it may be at the bottom of sphere. But observing the similar concept, we can say that any electromagnetic wave, to express its polarization value, we can locate in such a way that point P can be established on the sphere, and the sphere is defined in such a way that we are here we have considered the values of gamma, delta, epsilon and tau in such a way that any sort of electromagnetic wave which is consisting of any similar behavior can be established with this type of electromagnetic wave. Okay, it can also be visualized or can be explained considering the general location of you all. If suppose all of we people are living on earth, definitely our exact location can be provided with address, with plot number, with house number and all that. And one more type of addressing method all of we people are knowing. What is that? Can anybody tell me? आपल्या सर्वांचे लोकेशन जर सपोज कोणाला जर सांगायचं असेल तर आपण सांगण्याची एक नवीन पद्धत आजकाल आपण यूज करतोय. फॉर एक्झाम्पल आपल्याला आकाशच्या गावाला जायचं सर्वांनी आपण असं कन्सिडर करू की आपण ट्रिप काढलेली आहे. आकाश आहे का बघूया क्लासमध्ये. आकाश, आर यू हिअर? आकाश प्लीज रिप्लाय समथिंग. आहे का त्यांनी चालू करून गेला बघा. आकाश प्लीज रिप्लाय समथिंग. आर यू हिअर? Oh, I think Akash is not there. He is not typing. He is not unmuting his mic. He is not replying. Okay, whatever it is. If suppose I am आहे का? ओके ओके, गुड गुड गुड, फाईन फाईन. आकाश आहे क्लासमध्ये आणि आपण असं कन्सिडर करूया की आपण आकाशच्या गावी ट्रिप काढलेली आहे कॉलेजचे सगळे स्टुडंट आपण मिळून. ओके, आता म्यूट कर आकाश. माईक जे आहे की नाही, माईक म्यूट कर. ओके, आपण असं कन्सिडर करू सर्वजण की आकाशच्या गावी आपण व्हिजिटला गेलेलो आहोत, पण आपल्याला आकाशचं गाव माहित नाही, आकाशचा पत्ता पण माहित नाही. मग आकाश काय करेल, जे काही अटॅचमेंट्स आहेत त्याच्या व्हॉट्सअपवर, त्या अटॅचमेंट पैकी एक स्पेसिफिक अटॅचमेंट आहे की ज्या अटॅचमेंटचा यूज करून काय करेल, तो शेअर करेल ते अटॅचमेंट. आणि मग आपण काय करू, आपण कुठल्याही लोकेशनला जर असू तरी पण आपल्याला गुगल मॅप किंवा त्याचा जो काही हेल्पिंग पर्सन आहे तो लगेच आपल्याला सांगेल मूव्ह टू लेफ्ट, मूव्ह टू राईट. आणि त्याचं पूर्वीचं जे काही लोकेशन आहे सध्याचं, जिथं आकाश सध्या आहे त्या लोकेशनला इफेक्टिव्हली आपण पोहोचू शकतो. कारण आपण दोनच क्वांटिटीज लक्षात घेतो, त्या म्हणजे काय आहेत, They are nothing but longitude and latitude. In a very similar way, here in case of Poincare sphere, we can observe that horizontal and vertical lines are similar to axial directors or the equatorial directors, and considering these two values we can locate any point on the earth surface. If suppose our location is to be explained, that can be explained using parameters. In a very similar way, any type of electromagnetic wave, whether it is required to be located at the toposphere, at the right extremity, at the left extremity, at the bottom, or at the center, or at any location from our side or from the opposite side of the sphere, can be located very effectively. That can be considered to be, the sphere is called as a Poincare sphere, or it is also called as a Poincare or Poincare. That can be considered. T can be considered to be silent, and here we have to call it as a Poincare sphere. What is the use of Poincare sphere? Using Poincare sphere, we can provide the location of the polarization state of the electromagnetic wave present. And all of we people are knowing that considering our earth surface, few of the continental structures are having very dark peoples, and few are having very fair colors. In a very similar way, a particular range can be defined to establish a particular behavior of electromagnetic wave. ओके, आपण जर सपोज कुठल्या तरी एखाद्या कंट्रीचं आपण एक्झाम्पल घेऊ, फॉर एक्झाम्पल ऑस्ट्रेलिया. त्या भागातले सगळे लोक काहीतरी पांढरे शुभ्र किंवा एकदम गोरे असतील, फेअर असतील. ओके, आणि त्याच्या जे आपण कुठल्या तरी साऊथ आफ्रिकाला वगैरे गेलो तर तिथे सगळे एकदम डार्क शेडेड पीपल्स आपल्याला भेटतील. इन अ व्हेरी सिमिलर वे, इफ सपोज ज्या पोझिशन मध्ये आता कर्सर मूव्ह होत आहे तुमच्या समोरचा, त्या पर्टिक्युलर कर्सरच्या लोकेशनला आपण काय म्हणू शकतो, ह्या पर्टिक्युलर रेंज मध्ये जे काही पॉइंट्स असतील त्यांचे इलेक्ट्रोमॅग्नेटिक वेव्हचे पोलरायझेशन स्टेट एक्सप्लेन करणारे पॅरामीटर्स सिमिलर आहे. एक्झाम्पल वॉज टेकन ओनली टू एक्सप्लेन दी कन्सेप्ट. त्याचं काही इंटेन्शन किंवा काय असं याच्याबद्दल काय कन्सिडर करू नका. काय सांगतो मी, जर सपोज एका पर्टिक्युलर रेंज किंवा एक पर्टिक्युलर स्पेस शी रिलेटेड आपण जर डिफाईन करत असू तर आपण असं म्हणू शकतो की एनी स्पेसिफिक region can be defined by the characteristics similar points for the electromagnetic wave. मग जर आपण असं जर आपण कन्सिडर केलं की हॉरिझॉन्टल लाईन आहे आपल्या समोर, त्या हॉरिझॉन्टल लाईनच्या वरच्या इलेक्ट्रोमॅग्नेटिक वेव्ह त्यांच्या प्रॉपर्टीज काही अँगलनी सिमिलर असतील. इन अ व्हेरी सिमिलर मॅनर, the points which are located below the semisphere will be consisting of somewhat similar properties. In a very similar way, if suppose we are dividing this sphere vertically, जर आपण जर सपोज या स्फिअरला उभं जर कट जर केला तर आपण म्हणू शकतो की लेफ्ट हँड साइडचे इलेक्ट्रोमॅग्नेटिक वेव्हचे जे पोलरायझेशन स्टेट डिस्क्राइब करणारे पॉइंट्स आहेत त्यांचं बिहेवियर एक पर्टिक्युलर फिक्स्ड टाइप ऑफ प्रॉपर्टीचं असणार आहे, आणि त्याच पद्धतीने राईट हँड साइडचं पण बिहेवियर एक्झॅक्टली सिमिलर टाइपचं असू शकेल. Okay, so all can be expressed effectively with the help of Poincare sphere that is required to be considered. If suppose we are finding any question in university exam, for example, if suppose they are writing define or explain Poincare sphere, what we can write, we'll have to start with the first information, that is nothing but polarization. What do you mean by polarization? Polarization is nothing but the time varying behavior of electric field of electromagnetic wave. Any type of electromagnetic wave in universe can be described with 4 parameters. These four parameters are nothing but gamma, delta, epsilon, and tau. Whenever mathematicians or scientists found that the range of these gamma, delta, tau, and sigma is in such a way that all the values can be described or can be compacted on a specific sphere, we can draw the sphere-like structure as here, which is consisting of point P, for example. The location of point P will be having axial or angular separation of 2 tau from the vertical line, and it is inclined by an angle of 2 epsilon considering the horizontal line. In a very similar way, if suppose a line is drawn from point P which is intersecting the center of the sphere, the angle made with the horizontal plane can be considered to be delta, which is having range minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2, as well as the angle made with the vertical component can be defined with 2 gamma. If we are keeping in mind these four values, I think our today's intention is served effectively. Poincare sphere is drawn for finding the specific polarization state of any electromagnetic wave. For example, X person in your class is asking to Y person that where do you live? Then Y person is saying that yes, I am living in this region. Then X will be having somewhat idea about the behavioral response of Y. Okay, or considering different example, that if suppose we are asking a student what is your percentage in 12th standard, what was your percentage in 10th standard, what is the percentage of your diploma completion, final year diploma. If we will know these 3 to 4 values, we will be able to find out some specific characteristics of the student. In a very similar way, if suppose we are asking to electromagnetic wave, what is your value of gamma, what is your value of delta, what is your value of epsilon, and what is your value of tau, it will be possible for we people to predict the behavior of electromagnetic wave. For that purpose, Poincare sphere is a very simple and effective tool for considering the characteristics of electromagnetic wave. Why do we need to predict the characteristic of electromagnetic wave? Because if suppose we have to complete any design part, for that purpose, we should be able to justify the properties of electromagnetic wave in a specified or in a desired manner. For that purpose, the behavior of electromagnetic wave can be well established by understanding the polarization of electromagnetic waves. And to understand the electromagnetic wave efficiently and to describe the polarization state more effectively, Poincare sphere is a very simple type of tool which will be explaining the location of its polarization state, whether on the upper sphere, whether at the bottom sphere, or to the right hand side or to the left hand side. The four values gamma, delta, epsilon, and tau will be describing the polarization state of the electromagnetic wave, and considering the type of electromagnetic wave, we can analyze, we can predict, we can design, and we can implement a particular system which will be most efficiently possible to be used. Okay, probably if suppose we have to use the technologies of fourth generation 4G, 5G, or similar type of equipment that we are required to design, before that design we will have to define the behavior of electromagnetic wave that can be explained or well explained by the Poincare sphere or by the polarization state. Okay, for that purpose, our today's plan was intentionally only consideration of Poincare sphere. I think it can be considered to be sufficient for our today's lecture. We will complete with the application of Poincare sphere with phase velocity, group velocity of electromagnetic wave in next lecture on Thursday. Okay, if there is any query or doubt or problem, we can discuss. If nothing is there, you can have a lunch break and you can rejoin at 12:30. Hope that all of you people are at home. Stay safe, stay at home, continue learning practically. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.